It's an interesting question because it's been a rough couple of days reading the news and seeing what's happening to a country that I obviously it's home for me. It's where my parents live. It's where I was raised. It's a language I speak. It's where my university degree comes from. The U.S. is home to me. And it's really hard watching everything that's been happening over the past couple of days from afar and kind of feeling like my worlds are colliding because what so many wonderful journalists in the Middle East have been doing over the past couple of years is reporting on refugees, is reporting on Muslim citizens or Arab citizens who want to go to the U.S. and want to find safety and stability in the U.S. and who are fleeing conflict. And when I look at pictures of Arab university students with visas or Iranian, grandparents or whoever it might be who have been detained at airports for hours because of a piece of paper that was kind of very quickly signed on Friday. What is so much more hurtful in that to me, what that is damaging to is not just America standing around the world, but what's damaging about it is that it's about how Americans start to look at America. It's about what Americans start thinking about who is allowed to be in their country and who isn't, or who has a stake in making America great again and who doesn't. Where are we heading? Is this the open and welcoming and diverse, tough, resilient place that I was raised in, or are we slipping into something really dangerous and unrecognizable? I'm not saying that countries and their characters and their values don't change over time. So I would never say that, because America was, because 300 years ago, slaves and black men and women were not allowed to vote, this is what we need to go back to because that's what America's always been. I would never ever say that. But I'm looking at America from here, from Beirut, which is in a Muslim majority country, in a region that has been, racked with turmoil for many years, like many other regions, and that's terrifying. There's refugees that I've spoken to, the Syrians who have fled their homes, who have come to Lebanon and who are trying to get from Lebanon to the US or to Europe, think about the US as a place where they want to be precisely because it's a place of hope, independence, and opportunity. When that gets taken away from them, that says a lot about us. It's a lot about us as Americans. When I'm seeing, low income and even middle class families who are panicking of whether their access to healthcare will be cut tomorrow, whether they'll be able to pay the thousands of dollars for every round of medication they need to take for their leukemia or for their various kinds of cancer. I mean, to me, it is irrelevant whether the rest of the world hates America or not. It's about America transforming into this terrifying authoritarian state that its own citizens cannot hold accountable. That's exactly what Arabs and Muslims and humans around the world have died trying to fight, or have died trying to flee, or are desperate to get to America to hide from. And when I see these executive orders that are being signed, it's a scary time for me. In my job as a journalist, I try not to, and I shouldn't ethically be, take sides or pick one administration over the other, or identify with one thing over another, but I see a very clear contradiction between making America great and what has been happening over the past week. I don't think what's been happening over the past week is contributing to a safe and democratic and independent America, and that's particularly scary for me watching it from here. Yeah, and I don't know if it's that. There's a lot that we can say here. It's just been. I found myself yesterday in like this mood and in this funk that I've never really felt before. It's kind of like, normally I've I guess gotten used to being in the U.S. and watching terrible events unfold in the Middle East and think like, well, this really is awful, and I just hope that everybody there can stay safe, and I wonder what I can do to help, and I wonder what I can do to make people feel secure and not like their world is collapsing around them. And then it's just surreal having it be the other way around. Like me sitting in Beirut looking at the US, looking at these chaotic scenes at airports and at the White House and outside of other establishments, and thinking like, I hope everyone's okay. It's very surreal.
I know a guy by the name of Matt Zellard who is a man who started a petition on change.org, and the petition was called Save My Afghan Interpreter. And the petition has gone through to all these different places, and it is still going on today. And the last update that I got from Mr. Zellard was that the interpreters who were trying to seek citizenship to the United States of America, who fought with our brave men and women over in the Middle East, they are being barred from entry. And I'm not a fan of that because, that's like telling a serviceman or a servicewoman that they can't come back into their country that they fought for. These Afghan interpreters were on the side of America. So my biggest question is, why are they being told, oh, well, you can't come in? Well, is it because they're Muslim? I've read all of the ins and outs of these executive orders, and I honestly feel that he is targeting Muslims, and I don't think that's right, because the Bill of Rights, Article 1, says, and it is clear, that government will not impede upon individuals' religious rights. And I don't really feel that President Trump has a grasp on the Constitution. He might have a grasp, but how is this constitutional? I fail to see how this falls within the realms of the Constitution, because there was another incident. A guy who did service for our country, immigrant, wanted to come over to the U.S., and again, he was barred. He was barred. And so it just kind of makes me very concerned when I see those who are immigrants who fought alongside us as United States, personnel. It just kind of makes me shake my head and go, wait a minute. These guys fought alongside of us, alongside of our country, They're not our enemies. So why are they being barred? I can understand why he did what he did with the 7 countries that are predominantly Muslim. I can understand that. But if you're barring people who fought alongside our country, and you're barring people because they come from a predominantly Muslim country, well then I'm going to have a problem. I'm going to have a problem with the way that is being done, and I'm going to, protest it in my own way. And there are ways that we can protest. We have petitions. There's a lot of people out on the streets and they're causing chaos and violence. That's not the right way to protest. If you want to protest, then start a petition. If you want to protest, get on social media and talk about what's going on. And make your voice heard. The president says, oh, well, you will never be ignored from this day forward. Well, we might not be ignored, but what about the people who are coming into our country, who want to come into our country and they want to do it legally? Because they're coming from a predominantly Muslim country, they're being told, oh, well, you can't come in. You can't come in. And I can understand that, but if you fought alongside our brave men and women who, did what they had to do, and they got out, or they did what they had to do when they unfortunately gave their lives, then you're being told, oh, well, we can't come into your country. How does that make us as Americans look? How does that make our country look to these people?
So I'm dealing with a little bit of mixed feelings on this. Now, I'm perhaps not as emotionally invested because I was born and raised here in the States, and I'm my parents are third and fourth generation German and Dutch, but at some point my immigrants and ancestors also came over here, and I think I can see why he did it, to kind of get some control over our borders temporarily. And I guess what I struggle with as an American-born citizen, and I struggle with this, is that I want to stop the killings. I want to stop 9/11. I want to stop, the Boston Marathon, this recent shooting in, Florida. I want to stop these terroristic type activities. This is, my home country and yours as well. And I as a kid, I couldn't have imagined stuff like this. I mean, I remember the OKC bombing, Oklahoma City, and I just was in shock. And the bombing of the World Trade Centers in 93, growing up, I couldn't have imagined this kind of stuff happening. And I guess I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and I'm on board with whatever it takes to stop some of this, from happening. And I was listening on the lift. I took a lift over to an appointment today, and NPR was on, and they were talking about, scholars who want to come over here from countries, like academic scholars who want to come over here from countries, like Iran, Iraq, and want to study peaceably. And I don't have a problem with that at all. I just am frustrated as an American citizen with the activities that go on. I'm really frustrated. So I guess I want to see where this is going to go. I want to see if this accomplishes anything. And so, yeah, I have mixed feelings about, why he did this. For the most part, I am kind of in favor of what he did, not because I don't want people coming over here. I mean, this country was founded on immigrants. My ancestors, other people's ancestors were all, not from here. The only people that are from here were the Native Americans. But I'm all about, I want to keep this country safe, and the freedoms that we have. And so that's, I guess, how I feel about this. And, people may feel free to disagree with me, but again, that's, I guess, why we call it America. We can all have different viewpoints, I guess.
Trump is not America. Americans are not xenophobic. Americans are not narcissists. Well, okay, most of us aren't. I think the reason for all the protests is America's trying to send Trump a message saying, look, we don't agree with the choices you're making already. And it's only been a week, just over a week. And we don't agree with the direction you're trying to go with our country. And that's the key point. Whether you voted for Trump or not, he works for the American people. So those are my thoughts.
I believe in my president. I stand behind him 100% in his orders and what he decides to do. I feel like that he was voted in for a reason, and he is there to do a job that he set out to do.
How do I feel about Trump's executive orders? I feel like I wish somebody would assassinate him.